Percy Jackson Season 2 is coming December 10th, and if you're the type to forget what you watched a year ago but don't have the time to rewatch, or you just want to recap, this is for you. I don't have a pointer stick, but I do have a fairy wand, so this is what I'm using today. Let's get into it. Episode 1. The plot starts out at a museum. Percy's got dyslexia, which most demigods do. His mom is Sally Jackson here. She gives him a little life lesson in the past.
Not everyone who looks like a hero is a hero, and not everyone who looks like a monster is a monster.
Which is a really good quote to summarize the entire story. His teacher, Mr. Brunner, don't worry about the name I have here just yet, gives him a pen. I wish they did that movie scene here.
This is a pen!
Percy is bullied by a redhead named Nancy. His best friend, Grover, tries to teach him to never stand up to bullies. Great life lesson. But he does, and he shoves Nancy into the fountain with magic. And his teacher, Miss Dodds, transforms into a furry. Fury and comes after him, but he kills her quite fast with his pen that transforms into a sword. Nobody else sees it though.
That's her.
And Percy is kicked out of school when Grover throws him under the bus for his safety. Back home, he's taunted by his mean stepdad, Gabe, but his mom, Sally, believes him that it wasn't his fault. Sally then takes Percy to their Montauk cabin where she met his dad. Percy confides to her about the things he sees, and she tells him that his dad was a god, flat out.
Like Jesus?
He doesn't believe her, and Grover shows up as a half goat, and now he believes her. What are you gonna say? That was exactly my thoughts. And they're heading to Camp Half-Blood. And side note, Grover's actually 24, pretending to be 12. But the Minotaur shows up and crushes Sally into dust. Percy then kills the Minotaur and is knocked out. Great first fight for Percy. Episode 2. Percy wakes up at camp and wants to find his dad. He meets the camp director, Dionysus, who is also a god, and his cousin, but he pretends to be his dad to get him to bring him a drink because he's banned from consuming alcohol by his dad, Zeus. I wonder how many kids he's falsely claimed just to get favors. Percy runs into his teacher, who's actually Chiron and a centaur, and technically his uncle. But they don't really talk about that either. He has no reaction to Chiron being a half horse. Also, his pen sword will always come back to his pocket if he loses it, in case that's important later. Percy is put into the Hermes cabin, which is where all the unclaimed kids go. He meets Luke, son of Hermes, and a nice guy. Grover meets up with a wood nymph who camouflages into a tree, foreshadowing, and attends some Cloven Council meeting. But we don't see what they chat about. Grover then tells Dionysus and Chiron that he thinks Hades took Sally, which they already know, and Grover isn't allowed to tell Percy. Luke mentors Percy and he meets the camp mean girl, Clarice, Ares' daughter. Percy begins his quest for glory by trying out different camp activities, but he's bad at everything.
Is there a Greek god of disappointment?
Luke and Chris Rodriguez, another son of Hermes, teach Percy to burn food as a blessing to the gods, so he burns some blue food to chat to his mom, who I doubt is listening because she's not a god. Nice sentiment nonetheless. He's then kidnapped by Clarice, who tries to swirly him like it's the 90s, but he uses his water magic against them, and now you're covered in toilet water. He then meets my girl Annabeth, daughter of Athena, who wants to use him to capture the flag, which is very important to them. Luke tells Percy some lore, how Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon have a pact to not have any more kids, but then Zeus had Talia, who Luke and Annabeth teamed up with, but Talia didn't end up making it. Also, Annabeth's fate is to go on a quest with a demigod, and she's just been waiting for him.
Annabeth is the strongest warrior in camp.
That was a lot more believable when I was also 12. At Capture the Flag, Percy is basically the bait, while Annabeth disappears with her invisible cap, a gift from her mother. Clarice wants to murder Percy. Ma'am, that is a child. He snaps her spear, and she screams like he just murdered a loved one. And Percy's team wins Capture the Flag. Annabeth then shoves him into the water where he heals, and he's claimed by Poseidon. But uh-oh, that is illegal. And I'd be pissed if I was an only child at a camp where everyone has dozens of siblings. Chiron tells Percy that he's being blamed for stealing Zeus's lightning bolt because he's a forbidden child, so it must be his fault. They think that Hades actually stole the bolt to start a war between his brothers, so this 12-year-old boy is sent on a quest to the underworld to get it back. Percy says no to the quest, but Grover drops the bomb that Sally is there, so now he's all in.
When do we leave?
Episode 3. Percy gets his prophecy from the creepy attic oracle lady. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. So easy. His prophecy is basically saying he's going to succeed. Percy's told to choose his quest mates, and he chooses Annabeth and Grover. Except his prophecy continues that he's going to be betrayed by the one who calls him friend and fail to save what matters most in the end. So, sheesh. What do you think? Luke lends Percy some flying shoes for his quest, and Grover tells Percy about how Talia was saved by Zeus by turning her into a tree that borders the camp, and the squad heads to LA. Percy and Annabeth butt heads, and Grover tries to fix it via song. Electo, the Fury, now reformed, tries to convince Annabeth to give Percy up, but she refuses. She kills another Fury that shows up, but the original one, Electo, is still after them. Grover leads them down a satyr path his uncle Ferdinand once took, and they arrive at Aunt Em's with a bunch of stone statues out front. Annabeth immediately recognizes that it's Medusa's place, but they choose her over being killed by Electo because Percy trusts her, having heard her story from his mom. In this version, she fell in love with Poseidon and was cursed by Athena for embarrassing her as one of her worshippers, and made it so no one could ever look at her again, hence this turning to stone. Annabeth doesn't believe her because she loves her mom. Medusa propositions Percy that she could get rid of his friends if he wants, since they'll only interfere with him saving his mom. He's not into that plan, so they escape into her catacombs basement. She comes after them to make them a lesson, and Percy cuts her head off. A shame, because she seemed lovely until the murder part. Percy carries the head out to Electo and turns her to stone. Grover finds his uncle turned to stone, and Percy admits his prophecy to them, saying that he chose Annabeth because he couldn't imagine them ever being friends, and he chose Grover because he trusted him. They put aside all the fighting they've been doing, and they ship Medusa's head to Olympus.
They will see this as impertinent.
Damn impertinent.
And Hermes, aka Lin-Manuel Miranda, delivers it. Episode 4. Annabeth tells Percy about how she was given to her dad as a gift, but treated like a burden by her stepmom, so she ran away. On the train, the squad gets in trouble because their cabin is torn apart, and a creepy lady shows up, and she's the one who smashed up their cabin, and she has a monster in a carry-on bag. She's the mother of all monsters, Echidna, and they killed her kids, so she's mad. Her beast child stings Percy and hunts after them. Sometimes I don't understand how the mist works. Do those people just see a chihuahua breaking down a door? They head to a sanctuary dedicated to Athena, which is the gateway arc, where no monster can enter. Percy and Annabeth have a heart-to-heart,
I think you're about to call me a friend.
but Percy starts to feel the effect of the stinger. Echidna and the Chimera enter the temple because Athena is angry at Annabeth for embarrassing her with the Medusa head thing. Her mom letting the demigod kill her after her is crazy. At the top of the arch, Annabeth tries to send Percy and Grover away while she fights the Chimera, but Percy does a switcheroo, saying that he wouldn't have made it to Hades anyway. The Chimera's cute, and I'm glad Percy didn't get a chance to kill it. Percy falls through a hole in the floor, but is caught by some water. He's told by a water nymph that his father saved him, and he can breathe underwater. Episode 5. Annabeth wants to find Percy, convinced he's alive, despite having just seen the Fates chop some string. And she's right. Percy says they have to go to Santa Monica because his dad is going to help them. On their way, they run into Ares, Percy's cousin and Annabeth's uncle. We don't talk about that. He claims he's looking for the bolt and he wants to help them. He shows them how Gabe on the news is trash-talking Percy because he's a suspect in Sally's disappearance. Ares says he'll help if they get his shield back from an amusement park down the road. However, the gods are going to war, and that's his whole thing, so. Grover stays back as collateral. Turns out it's Hephaestus's amusement park. I can't imagine why Ares would be there. Him and Hephaestus's wife Aphrodite are having an affair. In the Tunnel of Love, Percy and Annabeth watch the story of Hephaestus, where he was thrown off a cliff by his mother Hera and rejected by his wife Aphrodite. They arrive at a statue of Hera holding the shield with a golden throne underneath. Percy tells the story of how it was a gift to Hera, but when she sat down, she was stuck. Hephaestus only set her free when Aphrodite agreed to be his wife. Weirdo. Percy and Annabeth fight over who's going to sit in the throne, but once again, Percy sacrifices himself. I don't know if you can breathe in there. The shield drops, but Annabeth tries to figure out how to set him free. Then Hephaestus shows up. Annabeth gives a heartfelt speech about wanting to be different than the gods, like Percy, and Hephaestus sets him free. They return the shield to Ares, and he gets them a ride to the Lotus Casino, and Grover tells them after talking to Ares, he thinks he knows who stole the bolt. I know. Crazy. Episode 6. Percy and Annabeth call camp and tell Luke that they think Clarice stole the bolt, Ares' daughter. They arrive at the Lotus Casino. Grover reminds them about when Odysseus' crew ate the lotus flowers and got trapped with memory problems, so they shouldn't eat anything. Grover runs into a fellow satyr, Augustus, who has lost his memory, but claims he's found Pan. Grover realizes that Augustus didn't eat the flowers, and he also begins to forget things, so just being there will trap them. Percy and Annabeth find Hermes. They ask for his help to get to the underworld to show Luke that he cares, but he refuses to get involved since it always makes things worse. We also find out there's issues with Luke's mother going crazy, and he blames Hermes for not doing anything. Percy then realizes that they've been there for days since the lotus is in the air, and Annabeth reveals that she stole Hermes' keys so they can go anywhere they want. They then find Grover, who is playing a game hunting for Pan, and he's having memory problems. They find Hermes' car, and Percy drives them out of there. Badly. Percy goes into the sea to meet up with his dad, but the water nymph tells him that his dad had to go prepare for war. She then gives him 4 pearls that will bring them back from the underworld, including his mother. Episode 7. Percy shows up to a mattress store where he meets Procrustes, his brother and murderer of travelers, and guard to the passage of the underworld. They trap him in one of his beds and head on down to the underworld. They skip the line of dead souls and try to pay the boatman Charon to cross, but Cerberus chases them off. Cute dogs, love them. They distract him with a squeaky ball, but Grover has lost his pearl. Grover wants to stay behind, but Percy gives him a new pearl, saying that he'll stay behind instead. They run into the souls bound by regret, and Annabeth is trapped by roots due to some regret that she's holding. With Cerberus approaching, she uses her pearl. The winged shoes on Grover's feet then try to drag him into Tartarus, but Percy saves him. And plot twist, Zeus's lightning bolt is inside Percy's backpack that was given to him by Ares, who they think is working with Hades. What do you think about that? They could crush their pearls and be done with the quest, but they still have to save Sally. They meet Hades at his castle, who wants his Helm of Darkness in return for Sally. Someone stole it from him to steal the lightning bolt, and Percy finds out that Hades never actually wanted to start a war and realizes it was Kronos speaking to him in his dreams. They pearl out of there to go find him his helm in return for Sally and meet up with Ares on the beach, ready for battle. Episode 8. Percy wants to do single combat with Ares, as taught to him by Luke. Him being able to keep up with Ares in a sword fight is crazy, but Percy creates a tsunami and Ares just gives up after Percy gives him 1 slice to the leg, saying Percy won himself an enemy, and they get Hades' helm back. Percy sees the cabin on the beach, and Alecto, who's reformed once again, is there to retrieve the helm. Percy then heads to Olympus to deliver the bolt to Zeus, letting him know that Kronos is coming. He's too late, and Zeus is gonna continue with the war anyways, and then Poseidon shows up, surrendering to Zeus to save his son. Percy and Poseidon have like a 2-second heart-to-heart, and he sends Percy back to camp. Percy talks to Luke about the prophecy, saying that Ares was the god who turned, the bolt was safely returned, and he discovers that Luke was the friend who betrayed him. He stole the bolt, worked with Ares to plant it on Percy, and gave him the shoes to pull him to Tartarus, where Kronos is. Luke admits that the gods are his enemy, and Percy was basically a pawn. He tries to convince Percy to join him into helping Kronos bring back the Golden Age. Instead, they fight, and Annabeth shows up to save Percy.
I heard everything.
And Luke disappears into a portal. With the camp term over, Percy and Annabeth head home, and Grover gets his searcher's license to search for Pan. They make a deal to meet back there next year. Percy gets one last dream from Kronos, who says Percy's survival is the key to his return, and Sally is back. And that's the end of Season 1. Season 2 is following the Sea of Monsters, which means that they're going on another quest while Luke is building his Kronos army, and we have Tyson, Talia, and Athena added to the cast next season. I read the books like 10 years ago, so I know the basic story of Sea of Monsters. I kind of know what to expect. I remember Sea of Monsters being my favorite book too, so I'm excited for this. Like and subscribe. Comment below your opinions and theories for Season 2. Not sure yet if I'll do a recap or a reaction for Season 2, but subscribe to see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.